You don't deserve this.
Dutton Ranch just gave us the most quietly devastating hour of television the Yellowstone universe has ever produced. And I honestly did not see it coming, because nobody sits down to watch a show about Beth and Rip Wheeler and expects to end up genuinely grief-stricken over a field of cattle. But that is exactly what Start With a Bullet did. And the calf. If you know what the calf meant, if you watched that little brown animal survive the Montana wildfire in episode 1 as the symbol of everything Beth and Rip were trying to build, then you already know why that final bullet was the hardest one in the entire episode. Let's talk about everything that happened in episode 4. The fraud that set all of this in motion. What foot and mouth disease actually means for a ranch, and why there was no other option. What Rip Wheeler does to the man responsible afterward. What Carter and Oriana's situation looks like now that Beth knows everything. And why a 2-minute conversation between Everett McKinney and Beulah Jackson about a tire swing is one of the most important scenes this show has produced in 4 episodes. And then we will talk about what episode 5 needs to answer. Because the Dutton Ranch is standing on very different ground this Friday than it was last week. First, the fraud. Because before we talk about what Rip had to do, we need to talk about why he had to do it. And the answer is that someone lied to them from the very beginning. The new bull that Rip bought at the cattle auction was infected with foot and mouth disease. The bull infected the entire herd of Black Angus cattle. And Beth, who is never content to accept a problem without understanding its origin, makes a phone call. She calls the veterinarian whose name appears on the bull's paperwork. The vet has never heard of her, or the cattle broker who supposedly worked with him. The vet records were completely forged. The bull was never tested. Beth and Rip did not buy a sick bull by accident. They were deliberately sold one by a man named J.R. Simon, who falsified every piece of documentation attached to that animal. And the consequences of that fraud are now standing in their field, dying. There was no vaccine or alternative way to save their cows from foot and mouth disease. This is not a television drama exaggerating a threat for dramatic effect. Foot and mouth is one of the most contagious livestock diseases that exists. It spreads through the air, through contact, through shared water sources. And once it is in a herd, once every animal has been exposed, the only way to stop it from spreading to every ranch in the region is to remove every animal from the equation. Permanently. Azul and Zachariah are forced to dig a massive trench with an earth mover. A visual of roughly 100 cows being driven into a pit that is nothing short of heartbreaking. And before it begins, Rip gathers his cowboys and tells them, "This will be one of those days that follow you to the grave." And I honestly think the show earns that line completely. Because Rip is not being dramatic. He is warning people who have chosen ranching as a life that today they are going to do the most brutal thing that life occasionally demands. And they are going to do it because there is no other choice. Rip shoots each one himself, one by one, Beth standing beside him. Azul and Zachariah present. The crew treating the whole thing like they are going to war. And Cole Hauser, who has played Rip Wheeler for 5 seasons of Yellowstone and never once let us see him near tears, carries this scene in a way I honestly was not prepared for. Because this is not a man who lost a fight. This is a man who had to destroy everything he came to Texas to build. One bullet at a time, the last animal is the brown calf. The one Rip saved from the Montana wildfire in episode 1, the symbol of their fresh start. The animal that survived everything just to end up in Texas in a pit. And the show does not cut away from it. It does not spare you. It lets that moment land with full weight. And I honestly think that is the bravest creative decision this show has made all season, because it would have been easy to imply what happened and move on. Instead, Dutton Ranch treated the loss of this herd like the greatest sin on earth, and it was right to do that. Quicklime is poured over the pit afterward, standard biosecurity procedure for a foot and mouth outbreak. And the ranch that 4 episodes ago had a premium Black Angus herd and a Dallas hotel deal, and the beginning of something real, is now standing on empty land with no cattle and no income, and a broker who forged every document they trusted.
Rip, maybe she's okay. Maybe we can save her.
We can't, honey.
And then Rip finds J.R. Simon. Rip attacks the cattle broker who sold him the sick bull, assaulting him in his underwear, and then burning his trailer to the ground. And I want to be honest about something. In the context of what this man did, deliberately selling a diseased bull with forged paperwork that cost Beth and Rip their entire herd. A beating and a trailer fire feels almost restrained for Rip Wheeler. Yellowstone fans know what Rip is capable of, and J.R. Simon got off relatively easy. The question of whether Simon is truly done with this story, or whether there is legal and financial retribution still coming, is one of the things episode 5 needs to address. Now, Carter and Oriana, because Beth walked into something she was not expecting this morning. Beth walks in to find Oriana still at the ranch, having spent the night with Carter. She handles it as well as possible, sending Carter to school and giving Oriana a ride home. And this is the scene where Beth discovers something she did not know before. Giving Oriana that ride is when they all learn she is a Jackson, living at 10 Petal Ranch, Bula Jackson's family, the rival ranch that has been working against them since episode 1. And Beth, who absorbs this information in real time while driving a teenager home, does what Beth does. She does not explode. She chooses her words very carefully. She tells Oriana, "That one has a pure heart. If you fuck with it, I will make your life a living hell." And I honestly love this moment more than almost anything Beth has done in 4 episodes. Because she is not warning Oriana away from Carter. She is warning her to protect him. She sees something in this girl. Something real and possibly trustworthy. And she is drawing a line not to push her out, but to make the cost of betrayal crystal clear before it happens. And Bula rolling a joint better than Oriana in their brief scene together tells us everything about what Bula Jackson has been through to get where she is. That woman has lived. And then there is Everett. And Levi, Bula lures Everett to 10 Petal Ranch under the pretense of a pregnant mare emergency. She really just wants to spend time with him. And Everett, who is not a man who talks about himself in any scene he has been in, says something in this episode that reframes everything we thought we understood about both of them. He talks about a tire swing hanging off an oak tree in his backyard. He says he cannot bring himself to cut it down. He says, "More than anything, I just want the ropes to rot so that I don't have to hear it creak every time the breeze blows by." Part of me still thinks it's Levi out there. And then reality kicks in. The wound rips open again. But the guilt of cutting it down? Shit, Bula, if we could go back. But we've got too many demons to ever be good for each other. Levy. A name we have not heard before. A tire swing that belongs to a child who is no longer there. And 2 people, Everett McKinney and Bula Jackson, sitting across from each other carrying a grief that appears to be shared. The most natural reading of that scene is that Levi was their son, a child they lost, and whatever happened after that loss is what built the wall between them that still stands. And I want to say something about this scene specifically. 2 minutes. Maybe 3. Ed Harris and Annette Bening in a room together with the weight of a dead child between them. And it is better than almost anything else in this episode. Not because the cattle massacre is not devastating, it is. But because this scene is doing something the Yellowstone universe has rarely done. It is giving a villain a wound. Beulah Jackson has been the threat from the outside all season. And now we understand that she is also someone who lost something she cannot get back. That does not make her less dangerous. It makes her far more complicated. Now, what does episode 5 need to answer? Dutton Ranch is now Paramount Plus's biggest original series debut in the streamer's history, which means whatever comes next has the full weight of that audience watching. And here's the question the show has put in front of us that I honestly cannot stop thinking about. What do Beth and Rip do now? The herd is gone. The deal with Claudio's facility exists, but they have nothing to put through it. The Dallas hotel chain contract Beth negotiated in episode 3 is meaningless without cattle. Is there livestock insurance for foot and mouth disease? Is the Dutton Ranch financially viable without a rapid solution? And is JR Simon truly dealt with? Or is there a legal case that Beth is already building while Rip was burning that trailer? The Everett and Bula storyline has a floor to fall through now that Levi has been named. And Carter and Oriana, now outed to Beth and presumably to Beulah through Oriana, are the personal bridge between two ranches that are at war. That is not a story that stays quiet. And Rip standing in an empty field where a herd of cattle was this morning is a man who is going to need a target for everything he is carrying. And in Rio Paloma, Texas, there are plenty of targets available. Episode 5 drops this Friday, June 5 on Paramount Plus at midnight Pacific. That is 3 a.m. Eastern. And it airs at 8 p.m. Friday on Paramount Network. After everything episode 4 asked us to carry, I honestly think we are about to find out whether Beth Dutton can build something out of nothing again, for the second time in 5 episodes. And I think the answer is yes, because Beth Dutton has never once in her life accepted the field as it was given to her. She always finds a way to change it. Drop a comment and tell me, did the calf hit Dutton Ranch